All right, babies, it's that time again. Oh, yeah. We are in Revelation 2. Oh, my goodness. It's always bittersweet for me whenever we're in Revelation because I love the images of the throne room of God and the worship and the power and the authority. What I don't like is the judgment. Because I think a lot of it is written as man has created God in his image. In other words, man has a hard time dealing with mercy. When people misbehave, people like to have a consequence and if possible a punishment. Whereas God is more into, okay, I see what you're doing. I have something better for you. Return to me and I will help you. And I think a lot of it had to do with the destruction of the temple around the year 70. It was destroyed, which was essential to people's way of life. And it just signified, things being out of control for the average person. So man naturally looks for God to get involved and correct this, and the only way he could correct it in their mind is through punishment and what they call judgment. Whereas I look at it as God says, I'll give you a way out. You believe in my Son who I've graciously given to you, who you have destroyed in torture. And I will still bless you and bring you into the fullness of light, eternal. So he's always looking for us to turn. So in a sense, we have some of that in the second chapter of Revelation, because it depicts Jesus admonishing churches for their lack of attentiveness to every detail. And that's good, and that's my experience with God is although he's loving and merciful, he wants to bring us into a greater realm, so he'll let us know what that is. But some of the language in it is just, to me, just too over the top. I can't recall it right now because I sort of I don't value it, so I don't really commit it to memory. But there's some nice images in there, where Jesus says, like, he'll make one of the churches the morning star, and I think another one, a light, some type of light. I forget what it was. Yeah, so he kind of says, you're doing this well, you're taking care of the poor, you're being patient, but I have this one thing against you. And even that language, I don't really feel like it's God's language. I feel like God's language is, there's this other area you need to work on. That's how I hear it from God. I never hear God saying to me, hey, I have this thing against you. No. So, as usual, the Bible has its usefulness, and then it has its, what I call errors, which are more reflections of carnal human thinking rather than divine wisdom. But because it's put in the context of Jesus in the throne room of God and being in the ultimate place of authority, that is obviously true. And what a lot of people miss on this aspect is that Paul says we are seated with him. So if we're seated with him, and that's a present reality, then there is something we can be doing to be useful in demonstrating that authority. And that could be something like calling things that are not as though they were, which means you're not healed, so you're calling healing into existence. Or a situation isn't resolved, and you call for its resolution. Or you're not as patient as you would hope you'd be at this point, so you call it forth. That type of thing. As opposed to praying to God like, oh Lord, I'm just miserable and I'm not a patient person. Please help me to be patient. Lord, would you please help me to be patient? No, you are in a place of authority. You recognize what your need is. You call it forth. The Spirit of God lives in you. You are the temple of God. God has transformed us from darkness to light through our faith in Jesus. So call that patience forth. Oh yeah, baby. In fact, as the bride of Christ and being made one with him, our threshold of growth is the likeness of Christ. So you don't see Jesus praying, oh, I really don't want to deal with this. Can you please help me with this, God? No. He says, I've been called to this. It's difficult, but because I love you and I trust you, I thank you for providing me all the power and anointing I need to make this a present reality. Oh yeah, baby.